This is an example for Lesson 4 of writing notes about human services contacts with clients. This lesson focused on different types of notes, but at the end focused more on how to write family interview notes, which is the focus of this example. This example writes a note documenting the initial interview of the Baker family. Father is Gustavo Baker, and he's about 40 years old. Son is Dan Baker, 19, and is in his first year in college. Megan Baker is 16 and is in the 11th grade. Wife Allison Baker is about 40 years old, but she wasn't present for the interview. The presenting problem is that Dad says, "My kids are driving me crazy." So you can view the video of the Baker family interview and download the notes taken during the interview and review how they match the interview videotape. Consider how the following formal note uses the information from the notes taken during the interview and also documents the Baker's family's initial interview. So the first part of the note is the date and location at the Regional Family Services Office. And identifying information very simply identifies the clients, the family members' names and their ages. Again, says that Dan is in his first year of college, Megan's in 11th grade, and Allison, the wife, did not attend. There's a little bit more information in the presenting problem in that Father reports his kids are driving him crazy, but then he said particularly Megan, and who used to be a good kid but is now slacking off with household chores and not telling him where she goes or who she is with when she leaves the home. Now, at the very beginning, he said she used to be a good kid and she's now slacking off. It's some further statements that lead to kind of getting some more detail about the presenting problem, because it's not only chores that are the problem, but it's also the fact that she's spending a lot of time with friends and not telling them where she is or who her friends are. And so that took a little bit longer to come out, but it is part of the presenting problem. In the history, notice what each section in the history focuses on. And there's different paragraphs for each category here. The first category focuses on the chores. So Mr. Baker reported that each of the children have chores. If they don't do them, he has to do them. Dan says he does his chores, and Mr. Baker confirms this. Megan complains she has too many chores and that she has too much to do and she doesn't like that. She complains that her mother understands her better. Given the fact that that came up as kind of a response during the discussion of chores, it makes sense that the next paragraph would be about why Mother wasn't at the interview. It appears that she's really busy at work as a wedding planner, and not only was she not at the interview, but the statements of the family suggest that she's not home a lot either, and that consequently Dad is the one that takes primary care of the household and of the children. Although it is very interesting to note that Dad said that it was Mother's idea that he take the kids in for counseling. So Dad and Mom do talk about what is going on. The next paragraph is about the fact that Father is concerned that Megan doesn't let him know where she's going and that he hasn't met her friends. This also goes into the fact that he sees her online and doesn't know who she's talking to online. And he makes some complaints, so to speak, that she could be talking to some 40-year-old pervert. She, of course, denies this and says that it's just her school friends she's talking about, and complains that her brother spends time playing video games, but unfortunately is my interpretation. The note says that Dan, Father responded saying Dan wasn't meeting perverts by playing video games. It's important to recognize that as I'm beginning to talk about this, some of my assessment is coming out But in the history section, you're not describing assessment. You're describing what the family member said in as an objective and neutral way as possible. The final section in the history section reports what they are each interested in. So that father wants chores done, he wants Megan to be less secretive, and he wants Dan to treat his sister like a human being. That language there is, pretty much as close to what he actually said. Megan wanted less chores and Dad to calm down about her friends. Dan really just wanted someone to be there to take care of things, which is an interesting statement. The first paragraph in the assessment suggests that this is probably a typical parent-teen disagreement about chores and friends, and notes that mother's absence may be increasing the tension, and particularly since Megan is suggesting that maybe she would feel better understood by mother, and that there's sort of a coalition between Dad and Dan against Megan, and she's feeling perhaps a little tension from that. The second paragraph notices that the family members were able to listen to one another, and notes that despite Mom's absence at the appointment, as well as absence from home a lot, that Dad does seem to be talking to her quite regularly. The final paragraph assessment suggests that the family does seem to be capable of resolving their concerns, but they need to improve their communication and problem solving, and perhaps Mom's involvement would help. We'll have to see whether that's going to occur or not. So the plan is that the family members will be able to agree about household chores and parents knowing about teen socializing. And notice that this goal is put in terms of a family goal where the family will agree rather than what each individual person will do. The first objective is that family members will have a conversation about what's happening in each person's life in order to have some more sharing going on with them, as well as what each of them thinks about chores, so that there's a beginning discussion about that. The family agreed to schedule a meeting to do that, and we'll invite Mom to participate. And there'll be a follow-up appointment with the family made in a week, and that they'll discuss how that went and evaluate whether that was helpful or not. So that's an example of a family note that talks about interactions as well as what individual people say. So review what you learned from Lesson 4 and from this example, and then practice what you learned by completing the Lesson 4 writing lab. That lab focuses on writing a note which documents a follow-up interview with the same Baker family. So that'll give you an opportunity not only to find out what happened after the first session with the Baker family, it gives you an opportunity to practice writing a progress note or a follow-up note, which is a little bit different than the initial assessment notes that we've been writing so far.